Greetings and welcome to Sanctuary. Diablo 4 release date is set for the 1st of June for the early access and the 5th of June for all players who purchase the standard version of the game. This basically means that we have less than 2 weeks until release, and now is the perfect time to talk about some tips and tricks that will help you progress faster and easier in the game. Let me start with the first tip, and it is simple. Do not pick your character based on any character rankings or tier lists that you saw on YouTube or anywhere else prior to the release of the game. There is one simple reason for that. Those tier lists are based on players' experience in the beta version of the game, which was very narrow and limited and was only about early game. You couldn't experience mid or late game there. As of today, we do not know many things such as how good the characters scale late game, what type of buffs nerf certain skills will receive in the future, or even how good the characters will perform in different game modes or future events that will unfold in the actual game. So I would strongly recommend you to choose the characters whose gameplay better suits your playstyle, rather to pick the characters who perform best at the beta. Tip number 2 is about the difficulty level you need to pick when you start the game. My advice would be to pick the lower difficulty, World Tier 1. Reason being, you'll be able to storm through the campaign as fast as possible and get to World Tier 3 faster. However, if you're not in a hurry and you want to take your time while enjoying a little bit more challenge, then World Tier 2 is the right difficulty level for you. For further information, I will link a detailed video on the topic by DonTheCrown. You can find it in the description of this video. Tip number 3 is all about the Alchemist. Past level 10, it will be a good idea to visit him every 30 minutes for two things. First, you must upgrade your health potion, that's really important, and you can do that starting from level 10, then level 20, etc. However, there is another thing that you need to consider, and it's the fact that you can craft other potions there. And every single one of you will give you different things, but all of them will give you boost to your experience. So it is going to be a very good idea to pay a visit to the Alchemist every, let's say, 30 minutes. Tip number 4 is simple. Do not imprint your weapon. To explain that in a way, in Diablo 4 you can get specific legendaries with certain legendary power. However, if the gear itself becomes obsolete or its stats are weak, you can get the power out of it and place it or imprint it in some other piece of equipment. Once you have done that, in the majority of the cases you cannot extract it again, so you can do that only once. However, your weapon is your most important piece of gear, which you equip and remove all the time. Imprinting an essence on it will most probably mean that you will lose it next time when you find a better weapon and you need to switch it. Instead, if you really need this essence, you can imprint it somewhere else, for instance on your ring or on your amulet. Renown and everything that can increase it is important. Tip number 5. You can easily check the amount of renown you have gathered if you open the map and then press W. Keep in mind that the extra skill points you can unlock will be applied to all your characters, as long as they are all on the same type, hardcore characters or regular characters. On that note, always check for altars of Lilith. Those are hidden objects spread in the zones, and by activating them you gain permanent boost to the stats of all your characters. On top of that, you get renown and you get experience in the process. Tip number 6 is about events and the curiosity vendor. Do not skip events, as it takes a few minutes to complete them, and once you do, you receive tons of rewards such as gems, but most importantly you receive Obols, currency that you can spend at the curiosity vendor, or we can simply call him Gambler if you have played previous Diablo versions. Spending the Obols on random gear will give you a decent chance of getting a legendary piece of equipment. And tip number 7 is, do not be afraid to experiment with your skill tree, especially early game. A couple of months ago the developers mentioned that respecing your skill tree will become more expensive and more expensive and more expensive until the time comes when it's going to be better for you to start over with a new character. However, my impression wasn't that from the beta. I basically reset my skill tree more than 100 times on each character, and every single time when I did that, the cost was just okay. However, to be on the safe side, keep track on the cost once the full version of the game is released. And the last tip is going to be, do not underestimate the rare pieces. Not everything is about legendary pieces. Sometimes certain rare pieces might be better, and do not forget that you can actually imprint them with the correct essence so they become legendary in the process. So all in all, every single time when you find a rare piece, inspect it thoroughly. Do not just throw it away, do not just sell it, do not just salvage it. Just take a look at it, see the stats it gives, see the damage it gives if it's a weapon, see the armor, you name it, but at the end of the day, do not underestimate it. So I really hope you found this video useful, guys. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. Many more videos will follow. See you next time in Sanctuary.
Perfect.